Good morning, friends. I'm happy to see your faces. I hope you're doing well today. Let's go ahead and get started with prayer. God, I just realized I did not have the volume on, and we have played that game once before. It did not work out well. So now I'm ready. Father God, thank you so much for today. Thank you for another day that we can just enjoy being alive, to breathe deeply of the things that you have created with the earth. And Lord, I just ask that you would be present within our class. Help us to be honoring to you and to one another, and help us to understand a little bit more about this thing that you gave us called time. Let us honor that as well. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, friends. So today we had the fantastic discussion topic of time management. What did you guys think about the time management article? Taylor.
I thought there were some really good points to it, and I myself have had trouble with time management in the past and still do. So that's interesting because most of the things that they talked about I had not heard of before, even though I've looked up ways to manage my time better, and my parents have tried to get me to do schedules and all that stuff, and it's never worked for me. So
Was there one that stuck out to you more than others?
I have to refresh real quick,
Sure.
but I think it was, hold on. I've always known that I had to develop a routine, and I never have a good set routine. But planning my week has never been my strong suit.
Yeah, I hear you. Miss Wren.
I too struggle with time management. And I think my biggest point out from this was I am terrible at eating frogs. I do not like to do certain things first, and I'm pretty bad about it. So I've gotten to the point where I plan my week, but that's only because I can't keep track of stuff if I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I do some of the stuff in the article, but I think it was very good about pointing out parts that I still do not do and probably should.
Mm-hmm. What's the idea behind this idea that you should, what's the point of managing your time well? Why does it matter? Taylor.
Because if you don't manage your time well, then you're not going to get the things you need to get done, or you're going to get the things you do need to get done, but they're the less priority things, and it's going to end up with you in trouble.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Miss Wren?
And there's only so much time in the day, and it allows you to go do other things. If you finish your stuff, work hard, play harder kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you work hard and you finish all your stuff and manage your time well, then you can go do stuff that you otherwise would not have been able to do if you lollygagged.
Okay. What are some of the time management tools that you have seen your family using? Miss Kenna?
My mom and dad have calendars on their phone that are connected, so they can, if one person puts something on the calendar, then the other person will see it. So that way they don't like schedule something at the same time something else is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if my mom like schedules an appointment and she needs my dad to drive her and my dad's at work, then she won't schedule it for that day.
Right. Do you all have access to that calendar? Okay. Grin?
So we tried what the Maxwells do, and credit to them that they make it work. None of us were able to make that work, and we have a giant family calendar. And if anyone asks us what we are doing on a specific day, we were like, we have to talk to the planner lady. We don't really know, but it's on the wall. And so we all go look, it's color coordinated. So we look at our color, and you're that color, and that's the day that you go and do stuff. And so it's a giant family calendar, and everybody can look at it, and it's color coordinated and see. And if it's not on the calendar, then you go ask. this day
Okay.
free. So
Okay. Samuel, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so the thing with the Maxwells wouldn't work well because my mom's the only person in our family that has a phone. My dad just doesn't need one, doesn't want one. Personally, I agree. But, so we have a calendar on our fridge. So if we, like Rin's family, if we want to play with friends, say at a certain time in 2 days, just look on the calendar. And then, if nothing's there or if something's there, we'll be like, well, we actually need to go to this, like if it's a meeting or something that my parents are going to.
Okay. I'm just curious, how many of you are in different clubs or organizations that are not something your parents are doing? Okay, Rin and Samuel a little. Okay, what I have discovered is that in our family, we have a calendar that links up with everybody's phone. And you guys, it depends on what you mean by club. I mean something where you have to go to it, but nobody else is going to it necessarily. So for example, when Mia started high school, she started playing for the girls soccer team there. And so suddenly we had to be aware of when her practices and her games were. And I know Rin is doing drill. And so that makes a huge difference. But I feel like the older that you get and the more that you take on some of those outside activities, the more it will make a difference as far as trying to prioritize and manage that. That's why you can't do them. I understand. It's really hard when you have a lot of moving parts, and I think part of it is also, I don't know how many of you guys are like this. Mia, from the time she was like 7 years old, would say, what are we doing tomorrow? I need to know what we're doing tomorrow. And so we've had to always manage that for her. Ryan?
That's all my siblings. I'm the one that just goes with
Okay.
No, you're just the one who never knows what's happening. And then whenever we ask our parents,
it's true.
we'll never
I didn't-
know. And then our plans will change in the next 5 minutes. Oh, nope, we're going to a picnic tomorrow. Oh, wait, no, we're going to go to campus. It's crazy.
We were going to California and I didn't know till like 3 days before.
Ryan, my child drove to Texas with no shoes because he didn't know why he got in the car. So
I've done that.
sometimes that's just the way it goes. Kenna?
I ask my mom all the time. I'm like, so what's happening tomorrow? What do I need to wake up early and why am I waking up early? And I'm always like, what is the plan? If there's no plan, then I'm sleeping in.
Not me. I just kind of wake up when they tell me to wake up, and
But you don't even get up.
I don't even get up. But I try my best. Okay, I'll roll over and then I'll fall asleep, and then I'll be like, wait, why was I woken up the first time? And then I'll be like, oh, we're leaving, and then jump out of bed.
Mm-hmm. So all of you are right now facing the change of seasons where your classes are going to begin again, and it's the time for the school year. So looking at the time management idea from this week, how are you making any thoughtful commitments for how you're approaching your school year? Tyler?
Yes and no. I'm making commitments, but knowing me, it's not going to go that far. But I'm going to try and get everything done by at least 5 o'clock in the afternoon every day. And then double up, like do double so I don't have to do Fridays. But that's probably not going to happen.
It's always good to start with the plan in mind, though. How are you going to keep track of that and know what needs to be done?
I don't have my school, I don't know what I'm doing yet. So when I do start, the first week is gonna be really annoying. But then the next week should get hopefully easier if I somehow find out a schedule.
Okay.
Mhm.
Miss Taylor, and then Rin.
I will probably do all of the things and hit all of the points, and then have the attention span of a 2-year-old and not do any of it.
Okay, how do you think that that will benefit or harm you?
Oh, it's gonna harm me for sure, like it does every year.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel like there's not much to be done about it. unless
Yeah,
it's
what's gonna
really-
happen, Taylor? You're gonna keep going like that. Then the last month of school, you're gonna be doing like 24-hour days.
Well, you know that I disagree with that mentality, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and do what you do. No, I just think that like what you said about that's just how I am. I actually disagree with that for all of the things. It could be anything. I think that we're capable of making intentional choices. So that's just me. But the pain of change, it always hurts to change. 100%. Any change causes some sort of pain. So you don't actually do the change unless the pain of staying the same is less than the pain of the change. Does that make sense? So someday it will matter. Miss Wren,
See, with the whole schedule thing, it bothers me right now because I have classes that I take online and they have syllabuses for them. And I have one teacher who releases our syllabus early and we get all our stuff. I get my syllabus in 3 days and I can plan all of my weeks and everything. And I literally go through and fill out the entire school year in my calendar once I get that syllabus. But I have another teacher who doesn't release the syllabus for weeks and weeks until like the week before it starts. And it bothers me because I have to wait for that syllabus to plan all my other stuff.
Mhm.
And so I'm sitting here like, anytime now, I want my syllabus.
Yep. All right, Mr. Chase.
Well, with this class being like I go to real school, so I have to wake up at 6:30, go to school, and I don't have to do any of this usually. So what I do, I wake up out of bed, check the time on my phone. If it's not like 10 o'clock, I go back to bed and wait till class goes, and I hope I don't oversleep.
Okay. I will say, and I know that most of you aren't on Facebook at all, but if you talk to your parents, the MasterPoint curriculum, I just uploaded a PDF that is a whole year planner that you could print out for free. It has different covers that you could color on, choose what you want. And if you want to have a planner, you can get that one for free. It's just a printout, and then however you want to put it in a 3-ring binder or spiral bound it, whatever would work for you. The handy thing about that is it shows you one semester at a time on a page. So like what Rin was saying, if you get your syllabus and there's a test coming up or a major project that's due, you can plug it in on the semester page, and that will also help you know which weeks are going to be trickier for you. And so if you have that heads up, you can plan ahead. One thing that for me, now I've tried really hard not to really, preach at you guys much, but I have opinions. And one thing that has always stuck out to me is that the time that we are given is precious. And people die all the time. Like, we're just really fragile creatures walking out in a really thin layer of skin that could crash and burn at any time. And so the amount of time that we have, we gosh darn better do something with it. Because I think it is actually the most precious resource that you can possibly have, because time is precious. Everybody gets the same amount. Doesn't matter if you're smart or not smart or pretty or ugly. It doesn't matter. Everyone gets the same amount of time. And if you can manage your time well in a way that honors God, that is when you literally see the world change. You can become a game changer with the way that you handle your time. And so it just has always driven me kind of crazy to waste time. I have a very, very hard time with it. I rarely watch TV. That's just something that for me has been a lifelong goal, because I just see it as so precious and it can be gone like boom. It's just gone. So, Miss Kenna.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm nothing like her at all. as soon as I have any classes that end, I get all of the work done that I was just given. So that way I have time to do whatever I want. And if we're doing something important like a project with my dad or something, the goal is to get it done and not waste time. So that way you can like play with whatever he just made, or like if we just fix the Can-Am or one of the razors or something, get it done, then we can go out and ride them and do all kinds of fun stuff.
I think that there is a little bit of a personality thing. Like, I know that my husband is not clocked the same way as I am, and he's probably the reason I haven't had a heart attack yet, because I am like, go, 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 go. And he's like, whoa, let's just take a break here. It's going to be okay. So it's always good to have friends and people around you who balance you out. But that is something that I think is really important. Tell me about your time audit. What did you discover about completing your time audit? Kenna?
That I probably spend way too much time on my phone. And I have made some changes actually last night. I have put time limits myself. I've put time limits on all of my apps, and I've made it so I cannot get onto texting or FaceTime or anything like that until 4 o'clock.
Per our parents' requests, mind you.
Yes, but I did it.
I think that's a big deal. What else did you guys find out about the time audit? Tyler?
I spend an ungodly amount of time listening to music and going in my own world. I checked my thing and it says on average, every week I spend 43 hours and some minutes listening to music.
Let
And
me
just
tell you, it is terrible.
the music is amazing, but then I realized and I thought of how much time that I spend listening to music other than doing school, and yeah, it was
And he plays
disappointing.
a song on repeat.
Gotcha. Miss Lydia?
So I didn't get to do it. My mom was gonna help me, but then we had to leave for something. But I know that I spend a lot too much time on screens, but also some things that I do are listening to audio dramas while I do other stuff. So that's that part of doing screens I think is a bit different, like listening to music and audio drama while I'm doing something else, because I'm not necessarily looking at something. I'm listening to something on there because it's easier, because I can't listen to it like on a CD necessarily. So that part I don't think would exactly count as screen time, because it's more of just listening to something while I'm doing something else.
Okay. Miss Taylor?
I personally work a lot better when I have music. So like I'll turn on my show playlist and do some studying, or I'll get all the homework done for the week because I'm so focused because I have a song. But like if I don't have any songs in the background or anything, I just can't focus. Math, I hate math, but I do it better when songs are on. I hate most of my homework except when I have music on, because then I get to listen to music and it helps me focus.
That is a for real thing. And that's a study skill and habit that you get to know yourself. I need silence, absolute silence. Most of the other members of my family need the music on really loud. And it's just fascinating because that's how we're just made differently. Samuel?
Yeah, same for me. I'm not sure whether I focus better or worse when I have music on, but I know that for some people it can be a huge problem listening to music while doing homework. They just cannot focus at all. I don't find that it harms me in any way, or my schoolwork, I guess. And yeah, that's the only time that I listen to music is when I'm doing homework. So I don't find that I'm constantly listening to music. Like, I'm just gonna bring up Tyler since he was just talking about that. And yeah, I'm not watching it ever, which is also part of the problem when my brothers are like, hey, what are you listening to? And then they start watching like the music video for something. I'm like, I wouldn't watch that if I were you. I don't know what's on there.
I have gotten caught on music videos. I'm like, whoa, that is not appropriate. Yeah, All right, Chase and then Ryan.
The thing with like what Taylor and them were talking about. I do that as well so much.
Okay, Ryan.
Everyone in my family except for me and my mom and maybe my younger sister, we're all the ones that we all like music, but we can't focus with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, Miss Lydia and then Ren.
So I like listening to music. And what I can't usually focus on schoolwork when I'm listening to stuff. Especially if it has words. If it doesn't have words and it's just regular music, I guess you could say, I think I could probably listen to it more, as long as it isn't something that I know the words to, and then I can and then I don't, if I know the words to it, then and it's just like the music, that I might get more distracted. So, but if I can listen to music with words and audio dramas and stuff while I'm, for instance, crocheting or something like that. But if I'm doing anything that requires my brain to actually think quite hard, like for schoolwork or even reading when I want to concentrate, unless it's just very quiet in the background, most of the time I need more quiet. With reading, I don't need it as much. But for reading for school, I need it more because I have to think more deeply about that.
Okay, Miss Ren and then Kenna, you'll be the last comment, so make it good.
So I've previously done timeout. It's not quite like this one. And I did a partial timeout this time, and it's interesting. And most of the areas I already knew about. And like Kenna said, I do keep that screen time thing on my phone, not even to limit stuff, just so I can look back over the weekend, look at it, and occasionally I wince and go, oof, I need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of a nice check. And you can tell if something crazy happened, like depending on how much time I spent on something or other. Like one week I'm on a costume committee and we didn't have enough costumes for people. So we played costume shuffle the entire week, and I lost hours in the week to that. And you can tell from my screen time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's interesting. The music thing's funny to me because it depends on the subject, whether I can listen to music or not. But
Okay, Miss Kenna.
I was just gonna say that my brother actually will come into my room and he'll be like, "Hey Kenna, how long have you been on your phone?" I'm like, really? Why are you doing this to me? So then he sits there and he makes me check in my settings, go to battery and all that, and see how long. And I'm like, probably too long. He's like, "Yeah, you want to come upstairs with me?" I'm like, "No, I don't."
Yeah. You know what? Phones are addictive. It is 100% straight up the biggest addiction. And it's something that I didn't have to deal with at your age. Nobody has ever had to deal with this. And so we're seeing things and we're trying to understand the effect of it. Like the eye doctor that we see says that they're seeing ocular degeneration at much younger ages than they have ever seen it before. So literally we are ruining our eyesight with our screen time.
Our generation is just special.
What's that?
Our generation is just special.
You have special challenges and you're going to have to, we're using you as the guinea pigs for a whole lot of things. So I'm sad about that and I'm scared about that. But at least if you know what's going on and you can be intentional, then you'll be able to make wise choices, is the hope, one way or another. Okay, it's time for action card assignments.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
So one thing that screens, like, you might not necessarily, like, you could count it as your screen time, but not as your necessarily recreational screen time, is if, for instance, you're doing an online class like this one, that can use up, for instance, an hour of time, but that's not necessarily recreational exactly. So
Right.
it's not wasting your time, it's using it, and you should still count it as screen time, but it might be good to count stuff like that, or researching for school, or listening to music. You might want to, or not necessarily listening to music as much, because you're just listening most of the time, but you could have 2 or 3 like groups of screen time, one that is for all of it, one that is for all your recreational, and then maybe one that has everything except for when you're listening to music and stuff, to see actually how much time you use it, how much time your eyes actually look at it, and then how much time it's just for recreational.
Absolutely. And my eye doctor would tell us that every single one of us should be wearing a blue light protective set of glasses, even right now, period. Anytime you look at a screen, you should have blue light glasses on. And so, there's what you're talking about the intention of what you're getting from it. And then there's the physiological piece of what's happening to your eyeballs. And I am failing because I'm not wearing my blue light glasses. Maybe I'll get that put together by class next week, but we should all be wearing them all the time. So, all right, let's get started with action cards. Kenna, kick it off for us.
Oh my gosh, I actually was just thinking, oh my gosh, she's gonna pick me first this time. She did.
I drew it out of the bowl.
Okay, so mine was people left the oven on. And I had to research what are the most common calls answered by the fire department. And the most common are EMS calls. And EMS calls are emergency medical service. These are usually when most likely a kid of some kind breaks something or has a minor injury of some kind. These calls consist of it's called the 6 phases of an EMS call, which are preparation, dispatch, response to scene, arrival to the scene, transferring, care of the patient or to other EMS personnel. And yeah, that's basically all I have on that call. Some of the other calls that are super common are actually cats up trees. They take the truck with fire or with the ladder, and they get the cat down. My grandma actually called my dad multiple times because her cat ran up the tree and my dad was on shift, and she was like, "Can you help me?" The other thing that I had to research was what the tax cost is to fund your local fire station. And in my area, for the fire department, it's $2.25 per $100 of arrested. Whoa, did not say that. What?
Assessed.
Yes, assessed valuation. But it's different for every area. And I got some of this information from my dad, and the other information's from Copper Canyon Fire Medical District.
Okay. Thank you very much. All of us are paying for fire service, whether we use it or not. So that's good to know. Ryan.
Okay, I own a shrine now. So I had to research the different countries that let you own square footage in their land as a foreigner. And I found you can own square footage in South Korea, Singapore, Taiwan, and Japan. And you can also own a little bit in Asia. Let's see. And places you can't is places like North Korea, because it's very secluded. No one goes in or out. China, Laos, and Vietnam. And then I also had to research if you had to pay maintenance for the land, and typically you do, because if you buy it on like a street, then they don't want it looking run down and stuff. And that's pretty much all I found.
Okay. Did you know that when you travel to another country, the United States embassies and military bases are considered United States the country, even if it lives, like you're in Germany and you go to the military base, you're in the United States at that point. Isn't that cool? Oh, you have things to say, Tyler.
Wait, so like if you go, so like if there's a military base on another country, then you're on United States land?
And you follow the United States rules.
That's, wait, so then you have complete freedom in those bases.
So for example, in Germany, homeschooling is illegal. It's been illegal since World War II because Hitler worked with the school systems and blah, blah, blah. So you are not allowed to homeschool in Germany. But if you are on and living on an American military base, you are fully allowed to homeschool. You're following all of the American laws.
Oh, that's weird, but
And it's
okay.
the same way for United States embassies. Like you go to Israel, when you walk onto the embassy property, you are a United States. You're on United States soil right there. Bryn.
My water bottle is still sitting there.
That's the same thing with the Navy, because as they go places, they're representatives of the United States. And so everything applies that you just said again, which I recently found out. I thought that was interesting.
And it's also the same for the Navajo Nation. Like if I were to drive from Arizona to Bryn's house in Colorado, we cross the Navajo Nation, and that is not United States property during that little bit of time. The laws are different. That's another nation. Lydia?
So essentially, you could be in another country, but not at the same time. So technically you could say that you were traveling to, say, France, but if you only were at the embassy or whatever those places are, you would technically have never been in France.
Technically, I mean, I don't think it's
So-
possible unless you parachuted straight into the embassy.
Okay, but also, I mean, if they had an airplane, then maybe. But if that just
It's
so
fun to think
couldn't
about.
someone else make? Could someone else make? Could they buy property and then have their own laws apply there?
No,
Technically,
because they're not governments, they're private citizens.
what if they made their own government?
Well, there are some people have created their own cities. Like there's a city in Arizona called Belly Button, and it has a population of 3, and it's like 5 square miles, and it's their own city government with their own laws.
I guarantee this generation named that.
All right, we're gonna.
I saw one time that there was someone that had they made a whole nation. They made their own flag. They have a train that's a train set. It's really funny. They have their own nation or something that they just created.
Some
Very,
people
very
have done
small.
this to avoid paying their taxes. So it's something that you can research. It's a thing. It's super non-traditional, but it's a thing. All right, Rin.
All right, chickens. So the pros, cons, and costs of chickens. A few pros of chickens are that it's a sustainable form of food. So you have eggs, and then if you have egg eaters, you can eat the chickens. And so you have a resource. The second thing is they often, if you have gardens and stuff, they'll get rid of bugs, and they're great. They eat scraps. So you're feeding them a lot of times with a lot of your scraps. And then a third thing is that they are really scraps. They eat scraps. They keep down the bug population, and they'll also eat like larvae and stuff and little worms and all that from various places. Our chickens wander around the cow field, and they love to eat all the little bugs that they can find and all the grasshoppers and everything they find they eat. So some cons of chickens are, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to catch a chicken, but not fun. You have to clean the chicken coop out which is also not fun. And there can be mean chickens. I've met some mean, especially roosters. Those are 3 cons. Also, some areas won't allow you to have a certain amount of chickens depending on your size of your yard. So there's 3 things. Sometimes if you have neighbors, they'll complain about the chickens, particularly roosters. Just experience. All right, so the cost of chickens. Chickens, to feed a chicken, they require 78 pounds of food per chicken per year, which means that for 4 chickens, it's $180 approximately for organic food to feed them for the entire year. It's $150 for non-organic food, approximately. To buy chickens, it's $3 to $7 for pullets or young chicks. And then for adults from Craigslist, it's like from $10 to $20. And if you bought them from somewhere like Murdoch's, where they're like 3 or 4 months old, about to start laying, they're like $28 and really expensive. $24 to $28. So the advantage of getting adults or pullets are that they start laying within a month or 2 or are already laying, which is really nice. If you get chicks, they're pretty cute. I'll give them that. You, however, have to clean their pen, which I somehow always end up getting conned into doing. I don't know how that one works, but they take longer. It's 3 to 4 months before they start laying. So the average cost, and this is approximating that you buy like 1 dozen of eggs per week. For organic eggs, you spend $312 per year for eggs. And for non-organic eggs, it's $208 per year. So you make back for organic eggs, feeding your chickens organic food, you make back $132. But when you first start out, you assume that all the $132 goes towards waters, chickens, and all the stuff they need. And so you break even. Then the next year you save $132.
Okay.
So they're worth having if you were allowed to have them. And then the zoning for chickens, usually you can have 4, which is why I ran my calculations at 4, unless you live in a really wacky area. Even California, they let you have like 3 or 4 in most places that I found. So.
Okay, thank you. All right, Miss Taylor.
All right. I got taxes again. First, before I start, I want to say, why do we have to pay the government for their debt if we have to pay our own debt, but they don't have to pay theirs? Just saying. All right. You can get a tax deduction for a number of things, but family-specific tax deductions are more geared toward the possession of children versus being single. One way you can get a deduction for having children is childcare. You can continue to cash in until they're about 13 years old. Another way is child tax credit. Each kid under 5 qualifies for $3,500, and any child 6 to 17 is just $3,000. The earned income credit, which means you can get money help to make ends meet if your money is at a lower point or your income is at a lower point. Adoption credit helps to cover the cost of adopting, and it's a wide range of what they will or will not cover. Head of household / widower or widow makes it so you pay less taxes than you would if you were single or if your spouse was alive. Education tax credit is for tuition fees and school supplies, even up into college. Also, a wide range of what they will and will not cover, depending on the child and depending on the school and jurisdiction area. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Right, thank you. All right, Chase.
I'm feeling blue. Not anymore, but all right. So 8.4% of Americans, adults, have depression in the United States. Oh. All right, I'm back. Depression and depressed and anxious workers are bad for the environment because sometimes they won't show up because they won't be pushed to do things. So they're not, or it's kind of disrespectful, but they're not fit, kind of is what it was saying. Depression reduces the quality of life. And steps to cure or treat depression. Talk with a healthcare provider, stay connected with family members, people that make you happy, set goals, engage, do events that bring joy. And then there's cognitive behavioral therapy that you can do, interpersonal therapy, and psychodramic or therapy.
Okay. I thought it was really interesting that that is the #1 medical issue in our country right now is depression. So more than diabetes or heart disease or whatever, it's depression. Elijah.
I read about that. I thought I put it in here, but I guess I forgot about it.
Okay. So, my report on replacing windows. So, I found that on average, a window in a house can cost anywhere from $50 to $2,000, depending on various things like what kind of windows, how much it costs to have installed, or whether you do it yourself. A lot of it depends on what kind of window you get. And some of the different kinds of windows are a single hung, and they're the type I think that's most common, where one piece of the window stays still, fixed into place, and the other piece can slide up and down to open or close the window. There's also double hung, which is basically the same, except one piece goes up and down. No, both pieces go up and down. And sliding, which is the same as that, except the pieces go sidewards. Also, there's, well, when you're installing or replacing windows, something else to think about than just cost is how efficient, energy efficient it's going to be. And there are single pane, double pane, and triple pane windows that are all designed to increase your energy efficiency. And single pane would be the cheapest, but with each additional pane, it can significantly reduce energy costs. So where I was reading, they claimed that it will actually pay for itself over time. And the other thing I was supposed to find out was how much it would cost to replace all the windows in, let's see. Oh yes, in this house. And I think my total was $4,200. And that's what I have.
All right, thank you. The things we take for granted, right? $4,200 for your windows in your house. Rin.
I just find this ironic because last night we were discussing replacing the window in my bedroom. And one big thing with replacing windows is it depends on what kind of, if you have siding or like we have a stucco and we haven't finished stuccoing luckily, but once you stucco, it is really hard to replace windows. So it's an interesting.
Mhm. All right, Kenna, is your hand up?
Yeah, but I remember that you didn't want anyone to. I'm sorry.
All right, how about this? If we finish on time, I'll leave it going so you can put your responses at the end. And then we aren't freaking out about time, okay? So we won't end right away and you can chitter chatter all at the end. Lydia.
Okay. Um, sorry, just a second. Okay, so apparently I got mugged. So I had to research top crimes. And I just listed some of them. Robbery, breaking and entering, motor vehicle theft, larceny, which is essentially robbery, I think, and arson. I'm not sure if it's not exactly robbery, it's burglary, I guess. Well, not burglary. It's taking stuff that isn't yours. The most common crime in my city is larceny, yes, theft of personal property. And some of the crimes that are covered by insurance are loss of money or securities through dishonesty, theft, fraud. There's credit card forgery, disappearance or destruction of property, and computer fraud.
Okay. Did you find out what things aren't covered by insurance?
I forgot to do that part.
No problem. The reason that I was asking is because when there were also so many riots that were happening in the past year or so, a lot of the riots were not covered by insurance. So there's certain types of crimes that do get replaced by insurance and certain types that don't, which I thought was interesting. All right, Tyler.
Okay, laundry, the best chore. Okay. So if you want to save some money on your laundry, then a few things would be to wash with cold water instead of hot water. And then this one made a lot of sense, but I never really thought about it. Only wash with like heavy clothes and like towels. Things all absorb a lot of water, because if you do like a load with half heavy and half light, you're gonna have to do the full heavy load instead if you just do the full like heavy load. And then if you do, okay, one of them was use a gas dryer, but I didn't think that was a good choice right now, especially with gas prices. So maybe not that one, but one of them was use like complete electric dryers. I don't understand how those work. I thought they were always just electric anyways. So, and then use things from certified brands like, oh crap, what is it called? Oh, from Energy, like one of those Energy Star, most of their like branding save up to 20 to 60% more energy than regular dryers. And use just more like, don't, I'm losing my words. If you're gonna use like really hot loads, do them like quickly. Like one of the things that we do here is we like let them just take a while. Like if we have to do like 2 loads, we'll do them back to back instead of doing them like an hour apart, because it's already hot, so it doesn't have to heat up, etc. Oh yeah, and fun fact, the average single person in America spends 90 days of their life folding laundry.
All right, thank you. Samuel, you're the tail end today.
Yep, anxiety. I'm sure everybody's felt it, especially you as a parent could probably tell us all about it. Okay, so there's lots of different types of anxiety, mental anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders, first of all, they're the most common mental health concern. They affect some 40 million US adults, which is about 19.1% of the US population of adults. Kids are affected, they're about 7%. So I chose to cover GAD, which is generalized anxiety disorder. That's just in general. So from the minute you wake up, you are constantly worrying and stressing uncontrollably about basically everything. Not just social interactions, like for SAD, which is social anxiety disorder, which is just about social interactions, basically everything. What you're going to do, Did I leave the stove on inside? Maybe I should go check again. Is the door locked? Maybe I should check it again. People will wash their hands 100 times a day for OCD specifically, and that's not even one of the biggest kinds. So emotional symptoms, apprehension, dread, being jumpy, tense, restless, irritated, and then constantly anticipating the worst and being on constant vigil for danger. Physical symptoms, there'll be sweating, tremors, twitching, pounding / racing heart, shortness of breath, headaches, fatigue, insomnia, upset stomach, and they will urinate often or have diarrhea. So GAD, it's one of the most common anxiety disorders. I'm not sure if I already said that. So yeah, like with the insomnia, trouble falling and staying asleep, trembling, twitching, tense, headaches, hot flashes, irritability, sweating, lightheadedness, trouble breathing, easily started, unable to relax, trouble breathing, a lump in the throat, fatigue, and poor concentration. However, even though we don't have any like direct evidence for what causes it, it is seen to run in families. Let me see. It can be related to certain medical conditions, chronic illnesses, diseases, and then it can be linked to family and environmental stress. Some triggers for it can include different things like the family, like say family stress. So maybe as a kid, your family was like, say your parents were constantly fighting, that can become a trigger for you. You hear two adults fighting and it just triggers it. So the diagnosis, how you get diagnosed with it, is the worrying happening almost every day for at least 60 days, if not more. There are medicines available though. Counseling will work well with relaxation techniques, and then working with the therapist for coping skills, being able to just, maybe you're not gonna be able to completely prevent it, but to be able to kind of get a hold over it. And then lastly, lifestyle changes. If you're smoking, doing drugs, or taking alcohol, you need to stop that. It's not going to help you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Knock those drugs right off.
What?
Those drugs right off. Knock it off.
Oh, just none of that. Ryan,
I figured out I have a lot of anxiety.
that is not.
You do not.
I do.
You've
I
ever
have
had a
almost
parent
every
Get
one
on
of those
Fortnite
people.
every night. Okay.
randomly for nothing? A lot of times that's anxiety. It's not, it just is what it is.
Especially social anxiety.
Several of you gave me new action card ideas. Some of them were similar, so I combined. But we do have a couple new actions, and I will send that document out to you because we're going to have to use them today. It's your last week of researching action assignments. Imagine that. Can't find my pencil. Okay, there we go. Do you want me to draw or do you want me to go alphabetically?
Draw.
I'm drawing. Tyler, you are the first one. Sell your bounty at the farmer's market. Collect $50,000 from the bank. Okay, that's one of the ones you already have. And it is research what it takes to run a successful farmer's market and what types of vendors tend to be most successful in this venue.
Give it to Elijah.
Mia is not here. Donate to the Children's Hospital. Pay $80,000 to the bank. Research the cost of pediatric medical care versus adult medical care. All right, I'm gonna, it's Elijah's turn and I'm cheating. I'm gonna admit my cheating. He's gonna get the coin collector. The only thing he's asked for this whole time You get to be the coin collector, Elijah. I stole it for you. And you get to collect, or you collect $10,000 from the bank. Research how often mistakes are made in printing coins by the mint. What are the rewards for finding one of these unique mint era coins? And it's gonna blow my socks off, isn't it? Your report next week? It's gonna be amazing.
Yep.
No pressure.
No pressure or anything. I'm just gonna, you asked for it. All right, Ryan. Anonymous donor. Collect $500,000 from the bank. That was one that you asked for.
The heck?
I didn't ask for that one.
Well,
Ryan, give it to someone else. It's worthless for you.
Give
how
it to
often-
Elijah.
How
No.
often do people
Give it to me, you stupid dog.
Sorry,
How
what?
often do people giving large gifts prefer to remain anonymous? Why would anonymity be preferred in this situation?
Ryan, give it to me.
Don't give it to me.
Samuel. Get a second job. Collect 80% of your annual salary from the bank.
That is awesome. Oh yeah, I did give my 500,000 to Elijah.
Everybody's just like piling on a bunch of money in the last week.
That's because
Actually-
we ran out and I was feeling really sorry for you guys.
I don't think we requested any bad action cards.
You should be. Sorry.
Chase. Pitch to the Sharks. Collect $100,000 from the bank. Okay, this is a new one. Research the entrepreneurs who are featured on the TV show Shark Tank. How does a shark's involvement in their business work out for them? Create your own product and pitch it to the class. Don't be so excited about that. All right, Ren. Stop forest fires. Every player pays $10,000 to the bank. Okay. How many acres is the average forest fire? And what is the typical cost to taxpayers for fighting a forest fire? Taylor. Win the lottery. Collect 200,000 from the bank.
Thank you.
Research the average amount of money spent buying lottery tickets. How often does someone win the lottery? Are men or women different in their lottery playing habits? Maggie is not here. Xbox explodes. Pay 5,000 to the bank. What are the most common reasons game consoles and computers break, and how can it be prevented? Kenna. Pan for gold. Collect 50,000 from the bank.
Is that a new one or is that one of the old
That's the
ones?
one that's already done. It's in the big one. What is the gold standard? How has this impacted the global economy over time? And Lydia, you're the last one. Is that right?
I guess.
Have all of you gotten it? Because I have an extra one here. All right. Should I use the old one or the new one? Which would you guys prefer? The new one? I'm seeing.
What'd you say?
All
New
right,
one.
the new one. Data overage.
Wait, what?
Data overage, pay $10,000 to the bank.
Wait, I didn't hear what you were saying before.
It's the data overage. How often do people go over on their mobile data? What types of usage take up the most data on a mobile phone plan? When is unlimited data the best option? Okay. Everyone has their action cards. Are we happy?
I have a question.
Tell me about it, Lydia.
So I put a few, I sent you 3 action cards. I was wondering, I didn't exactly hear one of mine, but did you combine mine with someone else's?
I
And make it
combined
that-
several of them because several of you had similar ideas, so I lumped it together. And some of them were things that have already been talked about. So I know it's been a long class and we have something like 100 and, let's see, 15 times 11 would be, 160 topics have been covered. So some of the ones that were suggested by you guys, we have already mentioned.
One of the ones I suggested was to choose one person that then gets out of debt just magically.
Yeah,
I thought that would be a fun one, but
Ryan
suppose that would
wanted
be
to do
too
that.
powerful.
You want to do like win the lottery, get $20 million.
okay. Is anyone rolling for a new house?
I wanted to go to debtors.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna let you go to debtor's prison. That was one that I just said no. Because I don't think, and I didn't want you guys to be able to declare bankruptcy because philosophically, we want you to be able to have a class that makes good choices. And declaring bankruptcy is like the opposite of that. So
what was my action card again?
data overage, it's one of the new ones, and I will be attaching that to your email. The new topics will have a document that have the descriptions of what to research. Okay,
Who
Ryan.
exactly
I got a new one, right?
suggest action card?
Ryan, you had a new one. And Lydia, you were talking over Ryan and I didn't hear what you said.
I was just asking who exactly suggested that one that now made me lose 10K.
You can just blame me for all of them because I'm the one who ultimately put them in the document. All right, it is 10:04, so we have gone over our class time, but I am happy to stay on and you guys can share your comments. I know there were many things to be said about chickens. If there's something that you want to continue to talk about, please take this time to do it. And if you need to jump off for next week, you can do that. Oh, before you go though, next week, I really want us to be able to give some feedback about the class, the major takeaways, what you have learned, whether it was worth your time. And so if you would be thoughtful beforehand, that will make the conversation better. Okay. Yeah, Ryan, we're on different time zones. That's amazing. Someone should research time zones and what happens when you stand on an international date line and go back and
I
forth
hate
back
time
and
zones.
forth.
They're terrible.
They're annoying, but you can't, it's hard to live without them. You're gonna have some confusion. And for me, it's actually 1:05.
See? Craziness.
So
My dad was able to skip a day by going to Papua New Guinea.
So I've actually sailed around the world and we started in Vancouver, Washington and circumnavigated the globe and ended up in Florida. And crossing the international date line, you lose an entire day. And that is just a trippy thing to think about. Like, what happened in that day? Am I really a day older? Am I not?
You can
What
time
is-
travel.
Where do all of the lost days go?
Yeah, like you could time travel. Like if you like go over across the national border, you text someone, and then it shows that it's over there. You come back, same
Yeah.
thing. It's amazing.
wait,
crazy.
technically, Wait, so technically you could cross it and then skip ahead a day. And then if you crossed it the other way, you would time
Lose a day.
travel backwards. But what if you crossed it the same way twice before the day was over? Would you technically be going forward in time 2 days?
No, you would only be able to do 1 day at a time.
That's
Just that
sad.
you would gain a day and lose a day and gain a day and lose a day.
Yeah,
And
but
so
one around
do you follow what the international time is, or do you follow your own personal experience for timeline? And if you follow your own personal experience, what does that mean for how you sleep? You're not consciously aware of when you're sleeping. Have you actually passed time? Ryan?
Very confusing.
I just had something to add to the time zone thing. Right next to Alaska, there's a small island. It's 2 miles away from, I think it's a Russian island. And as soon as you cross the border, you're 23 hours ahead.
Yep. And get this, this is trippy too. Over the course of the history of the world, different cultures have reckoned time differently. And so they have followed different calendars. And in something like the 1908 Olympics, the Russians showed up 8 days late because they were using a different calendar than the rest of the Olympic Committee. And so, like, when you think about these things, it's just really trippy. So, okay. Are there other comments that you wanted to make? I think I'm going to stop the recording just in case. So